Everyone, welcome back to our class YouTube channel. And welcome back with me, Reza Julianto Mohama from class 2018 and definitely from English department. Well, in this video, I'm gonna share you or I'm gonna explain you what I've got after I learned Introduction to Literature with the best lecturer, Professor Mun Otolwa. In the first meeting with her give us the examples of poetry. First, I've got the poetry with the title Meeting at Night by Robert Brown. In this poetry, composed of two stanzas. In the first stanzas, describes his journey at night through difficult terrain to meet his sweetheart. And the second stanzas, it is still describe his journey so difficult, and finally he can meet his sweetheart. And the next meeting, or in the second meeting with Professor Men Otulwa, we discuss about periods of American literature. And American literature doesn't easily to classification, but here are some of the mostly commonly agreed upon the period of American literature from the colonial period until now. Okay, the first is the colonial period. It is from 1607 until 1775. This period encompasses the pointing of Jamestown up to the Revolutionary War, and the majority of writings were historical, practical, or religious in nature. Next is the Revolutionary Age. It's beginning a decade before the Revolutionary War and ending about 25 years later. And the next is the early national period. It is from 1775 until 1828. This era in American literature is responsible for notable first works. And the next is the American Renaissance. It's from 1828 from 1865. The American Renaissance, also known as the Romantic period in American and the age of transgenderism. This period is commonly accepted to be the greatest of American literature. And the next is the Realistic period. The Realistic period as a result of the American Civil War and the Reconstruction. The next is the Naturalist period. It is the relatively short period American naturalists, writers such as Frank Norris, some of the most powerfully wrote novels in American literary history. And the next is the modern period. The modern period is after the American Renaissance. The modern period is the second most influential and artistically rich of American writing. And the next is the Beat generation. It is from 1945 until 1962, and the Beat writers such as Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg were devoted to anti-traditional literature in poetry and prose and anti-establishment politics. And the last is the contemporary period, is from 1939 until now. After World War II, American literature has become broad and varied in terms of theme, mode, and purpose. Okay, next, in the third meetings with Professor Mun Otolwa, we discussed about period of English literature. And in this video, I just can explain you some of periods because period of English literature is so many periods. So that's why I just explain you some of period of English literature. First is Old English or Anglo-Saxon period. It's from 450 until 1066. In this period, discuss about the oral literature developed a written literature in the 7th century. Okay, and the next is the Neoclassical period. It includes the Restoration period, Augustan age, age of sensibility. And the next is the Romantic period. It is from 1785 until 1830. Romantic period is a term that covers the field of literary art. And the next is the Victorian period. Much writing of period, whether imaginative or didactic, in verse or in prose. And the next is the Edwardian period. It is from 1809 until 1914. In the Edwardian period, the poets of this time gained many achievements in prose fiction, works that published the last novels of period. And the next is the Georgian period. It is from 1910 until 1936. And the next is modern period. Modern period is frequently applied especially to the literature written since the beginning of World War I in 1914. The next is postmodern. The postmodern is a name sometimes to the era after World War I. And the last is the persona, tone, and the voice. And the last meeting, we discussed about phenomenological and criticism. The philosophical perspective and method called phenomenology was founded by German thinker. It is Edmund Husserl. It is from 1938 until 1959. He proposed that consciousness is a deliberate international object, in other words, to be aware of something. Husserl claimed is that in the act of consciousness of this awareness, the subject of thoughts and objects that intend or aware of are involved and reciprocal. That's enough. I think that's enough what I've got after I learned Introduction to Literature with Professor Mun Otolua. And see you on the next video. Bye bye.